So in this video, let us look at the various methods that we have for solving quadratic equations. So you have already studied these methods in your lower classes. So this is just to revise your knowledge and give you the logic why the method works. The first method is middle term splitting method. Middle term splitting method. And the second method is method of completion of squares. Method of completion of squares. So this second method is a more general method. This method is a more intuitive method where you need to think and solve the question. Now let us first see the middle term splitting method. So if you have a quadratic equation ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now in this method you need to observe these coefficients very carefully, and what you do is you try to find two numbers alpha and beta. You try to find two very specific numbers alpha and beta such that their sum is equal to the coefficient of x here, and their product is equal to the product of the leading coefficient and the constant. This is not very easy for every equation. Suppose you are able to find two numbers alpha and beta which satisfy this condition. Now what happens if you can find these numbers? So now I'll write my equation as ax square plus b can be written as alpha plus beta times x plus c can be written as alpha beta by a is equal to 0. So if I can find these numbers alpha and beta, I can do this. So this implies, now you might not have seen this, but this problem has become very easy to solve. Let us take the LCM. So a square x square plus a goes here, a alpha x plus a beta x plus alpha beta is equal to 0. So this equation has become this equation. This implies from these two terms, if you take ax as common, ax times ax plus alpha plus, from these two terms you can take beta as common, beta times ax plus alpha is equal to 0. And this implies here also you have ax plus alpha, here also you have ax plus alpha. So you can take ax plus alpha as common times ax plus beta is equal to 0. Now something into something is equal to 0. The product of two terms is equal to 0. What is the conclusion? When will the product of two numbers will be equal to 0? Either this number has to be equal to 0 or this number has to be equal to 0. This implies ax plus alpha is equal to 0 or ax plus beta is equal to 0. This implies x is equal to minus alpha by a or x is equal to minus beta by a. So these are the two solutions to this quadratic equation. And in this method, you can very easily solve the equation provided you are able to find two numbers alpha and beta which satisfy this condition. So let us take some examples how we apply this formula. So if you have a quadratic equation x square minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now a is 1. So if you don't have any coefficient, that means you have 1 times x square minus 5x plus 6, right? Now a is 1, b is minus 5 and c is 6. Now can you find two numbers such that the sum is minus 5 and product is 6 into 1 is equal to 6. So you need to think about this. So now try to take this product 6. Try to think of different ways in which you can write 6 as a product of two numbers. So 6 can be written as 6 into 1. So 6 can be written as 6 into 1 or 2 into 3. So as you can see, 2 and 3 combines to give 5, but I want a minus 5. So I can think of the numbers minus 2 and minus 3. So if I take minus 2 and minus 3, the sum of these is minus 5, and the product of these two is 6 into 1 minus 2 into minus 3 is also equal to 6. So you are able to find alpha and beta. So let us split the terms. So you have x square. So minus 5x is written as minus 2x minus 3x plus 6 is equal to 0. So in the first two terms, take x as common, you get x minus 2. In the next two terms, you take minus 3 as common, you again get x minus 2 is equal to 0. So this implies x minus 2 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. This implies x minus 2 is equal to 0 or x minus 3 is equal to 0. This implies x is equal to 2 or x is equal to 3. So this is the process in which we solve the quadratic equation. But the problem with this solution method is that this method is not a general method. So for any coefficients a, b, c, it is not very easy to find alpha and beta. For example, if this 6 changes to 5, so if you have the equation x square minus 5x plus 5 is equal to 0. So it's not very easy to find alpha and beta satisfying these two conditions, because you have 5 here and 5 here. You need to find two numbers such that alpha plus beta is equal to minus 5 and alpha beta has to be equal to plus 5. So 5 can only be written as 5 into 1, but 5 plus 1 becomes 6, and minus 5 into minus 1, and minus 5 minus 1 becomes minus 6. So if you have minus 6 here, if you have minus 6 here, then it would have been okay. But for these numbers, finding alpha and beta is a very difficult task. So this method is okay in your lower classes, where you'll be given very specific quadratic equations where you can find these numbers alpha and beta, but this is not a general method. So the second method of completion of squares, is a more general method where you can solve any quadratic equation. So let us try to see the next method.